Om Sai Ram. Welcome, fluent English-speaking students. Welcome to Part 2 of I Must Know the Truth. As you remember, last time we had a dancer. Her name was Arjuna, okay? And her sister, Simi, had gone backstage to talk to her and bless her before her big dance. Here is the mother of Arjuna and Simi, okay? Her name is Sunita. And we'll find out more about her right now. Section 2, Part 2 covers Arjuna is shocked and shattered. You remember in the first part, the aunt Pramila came and said something that wasn't very nice. It said that Arjuna was dark and skinny. She asked her grandmother, what is the truth? Because now in Part 2, we're going to find out more. What is it that Arjuna wants to know? Why does her grandmother not tell her the truth? Who does she send for? So what happened is Simi is writing the story about her sister. Okay, she's the younger sister. And so she's, Arjuna is upset that the grandmother had called her dark and skinny when she first came to the house. So this is what Simi says. I tried to pull her away from the mirror. Arjuna is looking in the mirror. Away from grandmother and Aunt Pramila, whose voice rose aggressively. Of course she needs to know. Come, Arjuna, ignore her. Okay, so Aunt Pramila is trying to tell something, but Simi is trying to get Arjuna away from her, okay? And this is what Aunt Pramila said. I've told Sunita time and time again. My aunt's voice was low, okay, but her every word was enough, it was high enough so that Simi and Arjuna could catch every syllable which she uttered. Okay, so the grandmother had pulled Aunt Pramila aside after she said that nasty thing about being dark and skinny, but she was still close enough for Arjuna and Simi to hear it. Powerfully, okay? So this is the aunt. She's powerful. She wants Arjuna to hear this, all right? Overlook. Now, Simi doesn't want Arjuna to hear this. She wants her to overlook it. Every syllable. So even though the aunt Pramila was talking low, she was talking aggressively and wanted Arjuna to hear it, and Arjuna did hear it, and Simi heard it too. Every word that she uttered. So Aunt Pramila made sure that both of those girls heard every word that she said. What is it that she needs to know? Okay? So Aunt Pramila wants Arjuna to know that she's an adopted child, okay? Not born in the family. Okay. So this is what Aunt Pramila is saying. I told her the other day, okay, 2, an adopted child must know the truth. She has to tell Arjuna sooner or later. She must know, meaning that Arjuna must know that she's adopted. And then Simi, this first time she heard adopted child, she goes, adopted child? Oh, Arjuna, an adopted child? She's thinking this to herself. I stared at her. She stared at her sister. Our eyes met. They locked together. I held out a hand. She's thinking, oh, my poor sister. She's hearing that she's adopted. But the arm was suspended in midair. I felt a sickening wave pull me off of the ground from somewhere, from a cloud of a mist and a fog. My grandmother's voice reached me. So here, Simi is hearing this the first time that her sister's hearing this adopted child. And they're both not feeling very good. So let's go over the vocabulary. Locked. Simi looked at Ardna, their eyes locked, okay? Suspended. Her arms suspended. She's groping for her sister, but it's suspended in midair. She's so shocked. What was the author's feeling upon hearing this news? The author, Simi, felt so sad for Ardna to have to find out that she's an adopted child right before she's doing this big dance. So then the grandmother said, let Sunita tell her. She's talking to Aunt Pramila, and they're on the side a little bit, but the two girls are hearing every word. It doesn't have to be you. And now not another word, Pramila. I forbid you to utter another word. Here we've got an aunt, okay, who is the sister of the Sunita, the mother of these two girls, and the aunt is just causing a problem right before the dance. And now Sunita, who's writing the story for us, we know the story, she goes, it's too late now. I wanted to scream, okay, but she's saying this in her head. Too late, look what you've done. But I couldn't struggle out of the fog that enveloped me, imprisoned me. So she didn't know what to do. She says, Ardna, okay. But Ardna was shocked. She didn't even hear me. She stood in frozen despair, screaming, okay, a silent scream full of pain. She's just looking there and she's thinking, wow, I'm an adopted child. So then Simi shakes her, Ardna, Ardna. I shook her by the shoulders. So then, but Ardna was just shocked, okay? So then Simi says, Daddy, Darama, I cried helplessly. So what's the vocabulary here? We have forbid. I forbid you to say another word. I disallow you. Don't say anything more. You've said enough. And we have scream. We all know what scream means. It means to cry aloud. And then we have the word covered. A fog covered over Simi. She didn't know what was going on. Okay, and then she stood. Now this is Ardna is standing in frozen, motionless. She's just shocked. And then despair means sorrow. She's sad that she found out she's an adopted child. Why does the grandmother want Sunita to tell her? Because the mother should tell the child if she's adopted, not the aunt, okay? And it should be done at the right time, in a nice way. And why is it too late now? Because it's already found, the word is already out. She's an adopted child. The aunt blabbed the truth, okay? In a not kind way. Okay? And why did she shake her by the shoulders? Because Ardna was absolutely frozen. She didn't know what to do. And her sister loves her and wants her to come out of this fog. So, come quickly, is what Simi said to the grandmother. So the grandmother is heavy. She comes waddling over. She waddled over on heavy feet. What's the matter? She asked. What's the matter? She repeated, alarmed. Now she knew something was the matter, but she thought she was far enough away that Ardna and Simi wouldn't hear this, but they did hear it. Ardna, for heaven's sake, speak up, speak up. The grandmother is looking at Ardna, but Ardna is frozen. But the silent scream continued through her lips, and they were closed, okay? Although her lips were closed, she's screaming, I'm adopted, I'm adopted. My grandmother flapped around her because she was frozen, okay? Aunt Pramila came over too, all right? And then, because this is backstage, all right, nobody's seeing in front, but the girls are backstage, Mrs. Kotari, the principal, and the students of the dance school wanted to know what was wrong because they heard this conversation going on, and here Ardna is frozen. With a hopeless cry, I flung my arms around Ardna's neck and wept. It's not true, Ardna. It's not true, I said. She didn't want it to be true. So let's go to the vocabulary. Wobbling. The grandmother's wobbling back and forth. Okay, alarmed. When you're alarmed, you're afraid. Okay, you're shocked into a state of fear. Okay, flapped around her. They walked around. Here she is frozen, so they're walking around her. Ardna, come back. Flung my arms around her. I threw my arms around her. Okay, so now we have Ardna who was silently screaming, although her lips were closed. Can you resonate with her feelings? Wouldn't you feel shocked to find out from your aunt, who's whispering to the grandmother that you are an adopted child? Of course, you wouldn't feel good about it. Okay, what does this action of the author tell you about the author's feelings towards Ardna? Because she hugged her, she didn't want her to be hurt by these words. The younger sister loves her older sister a lot. But Ardna, she just said, she freed herself from my embrace, okay? She didn't want the sister to be embracing her there. She stared at Aunt Pramila and asked Dadima, is it true? Is it? So she came out of the fog she was in, the stupor she was in, but she wants to know the truth, okay? And then so the grandmother said, is what true? My grandmother faltered, her eyes full of misery. The grandmother was not happy because the whole family is in a state of shock now. Is what true? Is what true? So this is what Ardna is saying. Is what true? What Aunt Pramila said. I want to hear the truth. She wants to know if Aunt Pramila is really telling the truth. I must know the truth. She screamed it. Ardna, I must. So then the grandmother said, all right, all right. The grandmother trembled. Shh, child, shh, don't be so upset. Don't. So, but Ardna, she wants to know the truth. She goes, the truth, grandmother, the truth. The vocabulary, embrace, okay? She hugged with her arms. You embraced her sister. Faltered, okay? Said in a broken voice. She was, she was faltering. She didn't really want to say this, but she had to say, is what true, okay? And so trembled. The grandmother trembled, okay? She was trembling because she sees her granddaughter in a state of shock. She was trembling. Okay, upset, okay, uneasy or shaken. Everybody was upset. So here we have a question. What kind of feeling Ardna is having at this point of time? Ardna is absolutely shocked. She's finding out right before her big dance that she's adopted in not a kind way. So let's see what happened. All right, this is the grandmother said, okay. Turning to me, now she turns to Simi and she whispered urgently, get your mother, child. Quickly, get your mother. Then now here's Simi's writing the story here. I shouldered my way through the crowd of silent onlookers. There's a whole crowd looking here. When I reached the door, okay, to go out in front to get the mother, she heard her sister's voice, torn with grief. Now here's Ardna. Leave me alone, all of you. Oh, why don't you leave me alone? Shouldered, okay, she made her way. Simi had to make her way through all these people. Okay? Why does the grandmother want the author to tell her mother? Because the mother's the right person to talk about adoption, okay? And she's the one who has the most love for the child. And she wants the adopted child to feel that she's loved. And what can you conclude about the feelings through these words of Ardna? Well, we can conclude that Ardna just wants to be left alone. She's shocked. She doesn't want anybody around her, but all these girls are there. The principal is there, and her family's there, okay? And she just wants to be left alone to sort this out. Why does she want to be left alone? Who told her the truth? Why does she want to be left alone? Because it's a shock to her. She's almost 18 now. She finds out she's adopted. Who told her? Aunt Pramila. And they've never gotten along very well. So it wasn't told by a sweet person. Here's Ardna, okay? Now, you can see the look on her face. She's shocked. She is just frozen. She wants to know the truth. So she wants everybody out of there so that she can think about it and see what's happening. In 10 questions. So on this section, we'll ask the question, see if you've been paying attention. What words of Aunt Pramila hurt Arjuna the most? Put a tick mark behind against the correct answer. Okay, so that she was a baby and dark and skinny from lesson 1. That Arjuna was an adopted child, well, that hurts, okay? That Sunita, her sister, had made a mistake, all right? That Sunita should have told Arjuna the truth, all right? All of these are not nice, all right? But the one that really hurt her the most was that her mother should have told her the truth. She's thinking, maybe, why didn't mother tell me this earlier? Number 2, who, according to Arjuna's grandmother, should tell her the truth? Well, of course, the mother should tell her the truth, not anybody else, not some aunt. Number 3, how did Arjuna learn the truth? She learned it from her aunt whispering to the grandmother. That's how she found out. Did it shatter her completely? Wow. Finding out that you're adopted right before you're about ready to dance and do a big presentation, that's got to be a double shock. Why did grandmother ask Simi to fetch her mother? Okay, so the grandmother loves, of course, the granddaughter, and she wants the mother to come and to smooth out the situation as best she could. Now, do you know? All right. What do you want to know? The following celebrities who were adopted. See, it's not bad to be adopted, and you'll find out here who was adopted. First of all, Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple Computer, multi-zillionaire, okay, who started Apple Computer. He was adopted. So it doesn't hurt you financially to be adopted. In fact, it gave him some attention to put onto his work. And we'll find out more about him later. Actor Rajesh Khanna was adopted, a great actor. Actress Marilyn Monroe. In the United States, Marilyn Monroe was so famous that her movies went all over the world. But she was adopted. Bill Clinton, 42nd President of the United States. He went all over the world too. He was adopted. John Lennon, member of the Beatles. Now, the Beatles were one of the most famous bands that ever performed. And they did a lot of nice music, and then they turned to more spiritual music. In fact, the Beatles came over to India, and they were up in Rishikesh, and they bought a lot of land, and they started a small ashram. So it didn't hurt him to be adopted. Nelson Mandela, who helped Africa, in Southern Africa, so much. He was a very noble soul. Now, let's go back to Steve Jobs. When Steve Jobs died, at his well-attended funeral, he had thousands of people at this funeral. Thousands. And he gave each person who came to the funeral a beautiful brown box. And what was in the box was Autobiography of a Yogi. And this is the book that Steve Jobs used all the time during his life. And he realized the truth of what Paramahansa Yogananda was telling everybody, spiritual truth. And he wanted everybody that came to his funeral to know that there's much more than just money to life, that you have to know about God. And this book has inspired a lot of people, and it inspired a lot of people after Steve Jobs gave it at his funeral. It was his dying wish that his friends start to embrace spirituality. So that's the end of section 2. We'll go into section 3 tomorrow, and we'll find out what happens to Arjuna and her sister. See you on lesson part 3. Om Sai Ram.